What's going on, guys? Welcome into Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Seaman. I'll be your host for today's video. On today's show, we're going to be diving into some winners and some losers from the 2023 NFL offseason for the Minnesota Vikings. You know, obviously a little dead period in the NFL right now, so I thought it would be fun. You know, let's talk about some winners from the Vikings and some losers from the Vikings, because the Vikings have made a lot of moves and probably some more moves will be made. But hey, if the Vikings do make a move, we'll have a video for you guys ASAP. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're kind of having a sub battle right now versus our Falcons channel. They're closing in on us, but we're almost about to hit 13K. Free way to help us out here on Vikings Now. Just go down there, hit that subscribe button. Really means a lot to us, and it actually really goes a long way. Helps YouTube kind of push this video out to more and more Vikings fans. So if you haven't already, hit that sub button. So the number one winner I have from the Vikings offseason is the best wide receiver in the NFL, Mr. Justin Jefferson, who had 1,800 yards last season, and he is just an absolute dog, and I think he's going to continue to get better. And one of the main reasons why he's going to get better is because they drafted this guy right here. Also, how sweet is that edit? Jordan Addison is going to look absolutely filthy with that number 3 on in the purple and gold. But the Vikings, they obviously drafted Jordan Addison, 23 overall, the receiver out of USC. And overall, I just think that's going to take a ton of pressure off of Justin Jefferson. We especially saw it in that Giants playoff game. He was getting bracketed. And most of the games the Vikings lost last season was when Jefferson wasn't as productive, obviously. And I think adding Jordan Addison to kind of run those underneath routes, the drags, the deep overs, I think he's going to be a huge kind of take the pressure off of Jefferson, no doubt. His stats at USC and Pitt over his college career, he just put up monster numbers. I mean, that 2021 season, he was actually mainly working on the outside, and he put up great numbers. And then this past year at USC, he was mainly working at the slot and put up great numbers. And that's kind of my point with Addison, why he's going to be so deadly with Jefferson. It's because he's so versatile. He can play inside. He can play outside. And I think he matches up very, very well in this Vikings wide receiver room. Obviously, KJ Osborne, I'm a huge fan of him. You guys know that. And then if you pair him up with obviously the best wide receiver in the league, and then maybe a guy like Jalen Naylor if you want to run some 4 wide receiver sets, I mean, the Vikings route running is probably some of the best in the league. Like Jefferson and Addison, probably they may not be the best duo or wide receiver duo in the league, but they are the best duo in terms of route running, and frankly, it's not even close. Jefferson's the best route runner in the league, and Addison was the best route runner in this class, and I think Addison, funny enough, reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs. So, I mean, if the Vikings could have a next Stephon Diggs next to a guy like Justin Jefferson, I mean, they're going to put up a ton of numbers. But speaking of numbers, let me know, do you think Addison's going to get over or under 1,000 yards in year one? I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video, so YouTube's going to throw you an ad break your way. Sit back and let it play, and just go down there, answer the pinned comment, give me an O for over or give me a U for under. I'm going to be typing my O's in the comment section. I think it's no doubt Addison crosses 1,000 yards. Number 2 on my list is the head coach, Kevin O'Connell, heading into his second year. And for mainly 2 reasons, I think Kevin O'Connell's a winner. These 2 guys. The Vikings re-signed C.J. Ham for a 2-year, $3 million deal, and then they brought in the best blocking tight end in the league in Josh Oliver for 3 years, $21 million. When I first saw this contract for Josh Oliver, I kind of had my eyebrows raised. I was like, why are we really doing that? We have T.J. Hawkinson. Well, we know Kevin O'Connell, he loves running the 2 tight end sets, and having Josh Oliver and T.J. Hawkinson, yeah, good luck, NFL defenses. And overall, I think the Vikings, they're going to run the ball more next year. I think they're going to see him in a lot more heavier packages, because the Vikings, even though their offense was very good, they're top 10 in about every statistical category, but in terms of running the football, they weren't too good. I mean, they were 26th in the league. That's why I expect them to be in personnel groupings like 12. And, if you look at this group right now, this might be the best 12 personnel in the league. I mean, Jefferson and Addison being your 2 wide receivers. If you do keep Dalvin Cook, him being the running back, or you could throw in Ty Chandler, Madison, Kene Wangu, whoever you want it to be. And then you got probably the best tight end tandem in the league in Hawkinson and Oliver. That's just why I think the Vikings are going to be a pretty damn good team next year. And then you could throw in C.J. Ham and 22 personnel. If you want to do kind of get that extra smash mouth football where you just leave Jefferson on an island with the wide receiver, and the other opposing defenses are going to have to respect the run game a lot more this year, because I think at the tail end of last season, the Vikings offense was able to kind of get figured out a little bit. And adding a guy like Josh Oliver and re-signing C.J. Ham, smash mouth football should be back in Minnesota and should just help the offense way more as a whole. Number 3 for me, Brian Flores as a winner from this offseason, a.k.a. Flo. I'm honestly just super excited to see this Vikings defense play next year. It's going to be way better than last year because last year with Ed Donatel, this defense was awful. They were the worst defense in the league, and I think Brian Flores is a winner from this offseason because I think these four guys are going to need to step up. I've talked about these guys a lot on the channel. These year 2 guys from Kwesi's first draft, Booth, he needs to step up. Evans needs to step up. Asamoah needs to step up, and especially Lewisine. The Vikings secondary last year was so bad. These 4 in their second year, expect them, if they have a good year, they could step up and they could take this defense to another level. And then from a leadership perspective, I think Byron Murphy and Marcus Davenport, especially now, obviously Byron Murphy, the Vikings cornerback room is super thin. He's going to be the cornerback 1 going into the year. Like, I think he's going to have to just be a leader on and off the field, really groom these young corners, the Mekhi Blackmans, obviously Booth and Evans, like I mentioned. And then, hey, Marcus Davenport, he's got a hell of a chance to make himself a lot of money this year. Vikings signed him to a 1-year, $13 million deal. He's actually going to be wearing number 0 for the Vikes this year, so that's kind of fun. But he's going to be opposite Danielle Hunter. He was opposite Cam Jordan in New Orleans. I think Marcus Davenport, we see the talent on tape. Just got to stay healthy, and you got to be able to produce. But him, he's a huge boomer bust player, and if he has a big year, I think this Vikings defense could turn it around. But I want to know what you guys have to say. Do you trust this Vikings defense? Because last year, so many fourth quarter game-winning drives for other teams, they would come back on the field, and I'm just like, they're going to give this up. So let me know. Do you trust the Vikings defense led by Brian Flores going into next year? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no in the comments section. Number 1, the biggest loser on my list, and it's not even a loser technically because he is still a dog, but he is a loser because the Vikings ended up drafting Jordan Addison. So KJ Osborne, listen, I think he was slated in to be a hell of a receiver next to Justin Jefferson going into the year, but it just didn't work out for him. Obviously, the Vikings decided to go with Jordan Addison in the draft. They could have went corner there and just kind of trusted KJ to be that wide receiver too. But overall, I wanted KJ to be the wide receiver too, and that's why I kind of put him as a loser on this list. There really is no true loser on this list, but if I had to pick one, it would probably be him because I think he wanted to kind of be that second guy next to Jefferson. Obviously, production's going to go up if you are that second receiver, and that means you're probably going to get paid more. So KJ Osborne, he kind of lost out on an opportunity with the Vikings drafting Addison. I still think he's going to be able to put up good numbers as a wide receiver 3, but he's going to be the 4th option behind Jefferson, Addison, and Hockenson. So the production may not be there. If you're talking about wide receiver 3s in the league, I mean, it's either KJ Osborne or Tyler Boyd from Cincinnati is some of the best in the league. Number 2 for me, it loses this offseason. No duh. Dalvin Cook. Yeah, he's still on the Vikings roster, which is a big shocker to me. Obviously, Kwesi, we've heard the rumors about Dalvin Cook. We've talked about Dalvin Cook probably 30 times this year. But the Vikings did re-sign Alexander Mattison to potentially be the running back 1. And then they also drafted Dwayne McBride. And if you look at this Vikings running back room, there's a lot of names. And most teams will normally only keep 5 running backs. And the Vikings have to include a fullback. I mean, most teams honestly only keep 4. But the Vikings are probably going to keep 5 to keep C.J. Ham on the roster. And if you talk about just numbers here, Madison staying, Kene Wangu staying. You got to keep Ty Chandler. You got to keep C.J. Ham. And then you spent a 7th-round pick on Dwayne McBride, so I'm a big fan of. So that's why I do. Expect Dalvin to be dealt or to just be cut after June 1st. And the reason I think a cut is is very likely here is because the Vikings are going to need to pay Justin Jefferson and Christian Darrisaw eventually. Like, Jefferson's going to command $33 million. He's going to want to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. You're going to have to do that deal this summer. So you could cut Dalvin Cook post June 1st, save around $8 million. That's why I just think, yeah, Dalvin's been great. He's been great for the city. He's been great for the locker room, but I just expect the Vikings to move off of him. And it's going to suck, but it's the right move that the Vikings need to make. Number 3, losers from this offseason, the media. NFL media. I mean, I just have seen the Vikings, if we're talking about just power rankings, odds to win the Super Bowl, odds to win the NFC, odds to even frickin' win the NFC North. The Vikings are getting extremely disrespected. Right now, the Lions are heavy favorites to win the NFC North. And the narrative that is bothering me so much right now is the whole the Vikings winning, going 11-0 in one-score games. I get it. The regression is going to come. Like, I don't expect the Vikings to win 11 one-score games again. That would just be unrealistic. But this is a team that heading into the playoffs really wasn't too healthy. Like, the Vikings, they lost Brian O'Neill, Garrett Bradbury was banged up, and the defense led by Ed Donatel was legitimately the worst in the league. Do I think the Vikings are going to get better defensively with Brian Flores? 100%. They have those second-year guys that I mentioned. They're going to be able to take a step up. And I guarantee you, maybe they won't be a top 10 defense, but I promise you the Vikings will be a top 20 defense in the league next year. Talking about offensively, you bring in a Josh Oliver, you re-sign C.J. Ham. You're going to be able to keep these defenses on their toes with the run-pass mix because this Vikings offense was still be able to put up great numbers last year without a run game. Like, that's why I really believe the Vikings have a chance to take a second step and get into a second gear in a second year with Kevin O'Connell in this offense. This is the first time in Kirk Cousins' career, keep this in mind, he's had the same offensive play caller back-to-back years. Think about that. Like, he is 34 years old, and he hasn't had the same offensive coordinator in back-to-back years. I don't expect the Vikings to win 13 games, but the fact that the Lions are the favorites in the NFC, and people are saying the Vikings could possibly go below 500, and listen, anything can happen, but I just feel like the Vikings are getting disrespected, losing from the offseason, the NFL media. Vikings are going to prove a ton of people wrong this upcoming year. Made it to the end of this video. Give me a skull down in the comment section. I just got fired up talking about that right now. I'm not going to lie. I get triggered when these people are talking about the Vikings not potentially being a playoff team this year. Open your eyes. They got the best wide receiver in the game, one of the best left tackles, one of the best tight ends. Jordan Addison's going to kill people this year. I could have a whole video, a whole rant about the Vikings being a bunch of dogs next year. Let me know. Give me a skull down in the comment section if you made it this far. And as always, Skol Vikes.